Hello. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us at the Cosmos Foundation stage. I'm super excited that you're here with us. We have amazing speakers. So I'm Alex Chang. I'll be your multi-chain MC for today. And we're going to start today with a bang with 5 speakers radically innovating within the Internet of Blockchains. Now, please hold your applause to the very end, but also give a warm welcome to Dean Tribble, CEO of Agoric, opening up a world of smart contracts to the millions of JavaScript developers. Peng Zhong, CEO of Ignite. Come on up. CEO of Ignite, creating the cleanest developer experience for launching new blockchains. Gregory Landua, co-founder of Regan Network, building an open ecosystem to save our planet. Jake Hartnell, co-founder of Juno, building a community-first open ecosystem for smart contract developers and users. And Sunny Aggarwal, co-founder of Osmosis, bringing unprecedented liquidity and user experience to the interchain. Take it away.
So hello, I'm Dean Tribble, CEO of Agoric. And smart contracts enable new kinds of cooperation because they're software that enforces the terms of contract-like agreements between third parties, and especially between strangers. For decades, we've had this vision of enabling a more cooperative world by deploying smart contracts to help people cooperate internationally with lots of other people that they don't currently cooperate with now. And so we founded Agoric in 2018 with that very large vision, and we're now close to realizing that. Now, we quickly discovered or quickly realized that the hardest thing to scale in the blockchain industry, right, is the programmer base. Right now, there are more lawyers in Dallas than there are programmers that can write a DeFi smart contract, right? That's just not going to work in order to bring the whole world's mainstream activities into the blockchain, into decentralized execution, into smart contracts. And so we have a very large project ahead of us, and that's what we're working on. Oh, and where are my slides? I'm supposed to hit a slide. Oh, they didn't give you. There's my slides. Agoric, right? Welcome. So Agoric is building a chain in the Cosmos ecosystem using battle-tested Tendermint connected to the $10 billion worth of assets plus growing every day using IBC, which Agoric helped architect and inspire. And so using battle-tested Tendermint consensus, Cosmos SDK, we are a layer 1 sovereign proof-of-stake chain using the BLD token, which I should have written up there, and enabling smart contracts written in JavaScript, right? And that's the magic, is you got to meet the millions of developers out there. You have to meet them where they're at. And we've been in the JavaScript standards committees for 15 years. Putting into it the necessary ingredients to be able to realize an actual secure, hardened, deterministic JavaScript that we require for doing large-scale blockchain and smart contracts. We add to that a modern component system. So not only can you use the most popular language on the planet, the most popular development environment, but now you can build with the kind of framework that the world's developers are used to, right? JavaScript existed in browsers and was already the most popular programming language on the planet before frameworks like React or Vue came out. But once those frameworks came out, now relative beginners, new developers to the world, could take components built by third parties, safely and rapidly plug them together, and produce applications that were more responsive, more mobile-friendly, more internationalizable than experts could the year before. And it's because of having a framework that supports the activities you're engaged in. Well, for us, the framework is not about mouse clicks and rendering, which is important, and we certainly support that, but it's about escrow and pricing and transactions and enabling interesting business structures with digital assets uniformly working across fungible, non-fungible, and semi-fungible tokens. That's the framework that Agoric is building. And so that leads to a wide variety of DeFi Legos, NFT Legos, governance Legos that people will be able to pick up and put together rapidly new applications and really creating applications that are decentralized applications that work across the interchain, that are tied to interchain assets that can drive accounts on Osmosis and Juno and other places. So it's a framework to enable the world's developers to start to move into crypto in a bigger way, to enable mainstream developers that if you can build a banking application, you can build a decentralized one. So we are currently in the phase where we're heading towards launch this year. We just handed off our economic primitives, which I'll talk about a little bit more, to external security auditors. This is our 5th security audit of different parts of the system. It is a big platform. It is a big solution. And we've started economic stress testing with economists outside of our system, attacking it economically and making sure that the system scales and can handle the kinds of economic assault that we all know happens in the real world. We're targeting a release candidate in July, and then we'll be preparing to release it, going through all of the performance and scaling and working with users and all of that through August, and then heading towards launch in Q3. Now, what is that launch? We already have our chain live. It was part of our public sale last year. So Agoric now has 50,000 users out there that have tokens. 50,000 users, many of which are developers, validators, other partners in the ecosystem from across the Cosmoverse and the Interchain ecosystem. But what we're building is not just the platform, not just the framework, but also the first use case in some sense is a stable token that is, oh, here we go, called the Inter protocol, that is where the token is IST for interstable token, and it's really focused on providing a robust stable token for the interchain economy. So it is a over-collateralized CDP style stable token that will be backed by community assets. So you can bring assets from other chains, from launch chains, from sort of the heart of the assets that are currently in the world of interchain like Atom and Osmo, bring them over as collateral, borrow IST against it, and take it off to Juno, Evmos, Osmosis, what have you, in order to use it in DeFi. So it really unlocks the economic power of all of those assets that we have on all these different chains. And so it connects via IBC, and that'll be, and that's sort of the heart of us launching, where then these smart contracts will be able to drive other chains over IBC and also be driven by them from the chains that these other people are launching. And so that really gives you a programmable, decentralized economy, right? A stable token, that was why DeFi Summer launched. It is critical to having an actual economy where our mission is, rapid development of smart contracts, launching into a stable environment. And so, it lets you do all of the use cases you're used to, only you can now do it for interchain assets, not just for us, right? Not just for one chain. And so if you're interested in that, obviously go to agoric.com, go to @Agoric at Twitter, but for the Inter protocol, which is already growing to be outside of Agoric and connecting to the rest of the world, we'll have our first community call next week. Please follow us on Twitter and join us there. Thank you. Peng Zhong.
All right. Thank you, Dean. That was great intro. So Dean focuses on smart contracts, and we have Juno here also representing CosmWasm smart contracts. I think they're also being implemented on Osmosis. But what Ignite focuses on is one layer below all that. It's a bit lower level plumbing, and we focus on layer ones. So, we're all here because we care about Cosmos, and Cosmos is about the internet of blockchains, right? So we take a very long view towards this, and we look at what's available today in the Cosmos ecosystem, which is 50 plus sovereign IBC-connected blockchains, worth about $10 billion worth of value, across all of these digital assets. But this is only the beginning, right? You can't consider 50 websites, the internet today. That's not a that's not the World Wide Web today. There are millions of websites today. So how do we get from here? How do we get from 50 chains to 1 million chains, right? And what we think makes the most sense here is to continue to focus on reducing the barriers to entry, to democratize access to these tools, and let more people, develop their own chain. So to start with, I'd like to talk about our Ignite innovation platform, which consists of several developer tools that we've been working on really hard to ensure that developers have supported all steps along the way, from playing around on the weekend with the Ignite CLI to launching a mainnet in the future. Right? We want to make sure every step along the way, developers have some resource available to them, they can reach out to. So first of all, the Ignite CLI tool, it's the industry standard for launching sovereign blockchains. It's the recommended way from the Interchain Foundation and Ignite to launch your own sovereign blockchain. It allows people to launch chains in a similar way to building and launching web applications. That's the long-term goal. The CLI comprises one part of that. It's been used by many projects to assist with initial launch, including Juno and Umi and Clan Network, Mediblock, Hive, and many others. Many of these projects have not launched yet, and there are many more to come. But the Ignite CLI is the introductory tool to let people get something, to launch a chain on their own computer at home within a few minutes. Right, so the Ignite CLI tool is super powerful. If you're familiar with web development, you're able to scaffold a blockchain and the front end, like the wallet portion of it, the staking interface, et cetera, with one command. And you're able to edit the source code of the blockchain, the front end code that attaches to your blockchain, also scaffold various transactions on your blockchain with simple lines of code. It includes hot reloading, so you can edit front end code and see the changes reflected. So all the sorts of stuff that you'd expect if you were building a web application, but now it's a blockchain, right? And of course, Ignite CLI is powered by the Cosmos SDK. So every single chain built with Ignite CLI has the full power of the Cosmos SDK, which secures 50 plus chains over IBC, and it has been running on the hub for 3+ years. So Ignite is not only for developers, right? So what we've been learning through the process of launching the Cosmos Hub and incubating projects is that people need this support, right? We've been learning this on our own for up until now, but there are other people who would benefit from this knowledge a lot. So over the course of the last 2 years, we've incubated 3 different projects, 3 different chains, right? And one of them is live already. Crescent, formerly Gravity Dex, is live on its own chain. It's a cross-chain DeFi hub that is starting out with a AMM, but it's moving on to support an order book-based exchange and further DeFi features beyond that. Archway is in testnet stage, right? It just finished an incentivized testnet in the month of May. It had tens of thousands of contributors, and it's on its way to mainnet. We have Saga as well, which is the latest one of these announcements. They just raised $6.5 million, and they're hard at work actively developing infrastructure for shared security. So we've incubated 3 chains over the past couple of years, but what if we could expand upon that? What if we can take what we learned, turn it into a process, right, and guide even more projects through the process, get even more liquidity into the Cosmos ecosystem, right, which compounds and builds on top of itself with all these other projects here on stage and all the other projects in the community right here. So the accelerator, we've announced earlier this year, we have backed over $150 million worth of funding across 11 capital partners, including Simply VC, OKX Ventures, Hashkey Capital, Figment, Alameda Research, et cetera. And they're all looking forward to seeing what people end up building, right? So you're able to apply for the accelerator right now. Go into ignite.com. If you're interested in building a chain and you're serious about it and you want to speed up that process to get to mainnet, this is what you should check out. So the accelerator is not just about money, right? Obviously, there are lots of funds with capital, but you need a lot more than that to launch a chain, right? Business development is top of the list. Business strategy, mentorship, networking with the other projects in the accelerator. For this support, like technical support, code review, these are things that we're going to be able to offer through this system. The first cohort we're aiming for later this year, October of this year. All right, so we now have products. We have products for teams supporting developers, that are launching new chains. But to get to mainnet, you need more than just that, right? You need validators. And we're proud to announce that our first product that's aimed for developers and validators is coming out later this year. It's called Ignite Launchpad. I can't say any more right now. There will be big news to come. OK, so like I mentioned before, the Ignite Innovation Platform comprises of 3 components, right? 2 of which are live now, 1 of which is coming soon. It's the CLI tool that allows people from hobbyists all the way to large corporate enterprises to experiment with launching their own chain. It includes the accelerator for early stage projects that want some additional help want some connections, to get to mainnet faster. And it's going to include the Launchpad, which is a product, the first sort of large-scale product aimed at Cosmos validators that will help connect them to chains, and among other things. The marketing team would kill me if I said any more right now. OK, Ignite for everyone. So that comprises, all the tools we have for developers. But, these chains need an audience as well. So what we have for community members, for people in the audience, for people who are not developers but are excited about the Cosmos ecosystem and learning about how it'll grow from here, we have Emrys. So with Emrys, we're really focusing on improving the user experience of getting used to a multi-chain ecosystem. So we've always built Emrys multi-chain first, and also chain agnostic. That means we're not prioritizing one chain over the other. And in fact, we try to focus on the tokens in your portfolio as a priority, right? And that means that at the end of the day, over time, right, as there are more and more chains will end up becoming abstracted and into the background, whereas the tokens that you hold will become the things that you manipulate with, transact with, and earn yield with into the future. We've been really working hard to add more features to Emrys, but it's still in beta. While it's in beta, we've supported over 25 Cosmos chains, IBC-connected Cosmos chains, and we have 50,000 connected wallets. Right, so as we've been working on expanding the Ignite product suite and thinking further about where we want to go with Emrys, we want to really make a streamlined, end-to-end, comprehensive solution for everyone in the Cosmos ecosystem. So later this year, in summer, we're going to be renaming Emrys to Ignite. It's going to be the end-user-facing portal for most people, and it's going to allow developers to launch a chain, get accelerated, find their validators, launch mainnet, and connect to users, all in one fluid and simplified UI. Here's a preview of what it might look like. Emrys with Ignite branding. Crypto moves fast, but Ignite will help you move faster. Please check out ignite.com for more information, and if you want the latest news, follow us ignite_com on Twitter. Thank you.
Thanks, Peng. Hey, everyone. Great to be here. I'm Gregory Landua. I'm the CEO of Regan Network Development, and I'm going to talk about two different things. One, I'm going to talk very briefly about our role maintaining the Cosmos SDK for this amazing community and how that really exemplifies the decentralization and community-built spirit of the Cosmos ecosystem. Two, I'm going to tell you about Regan Network and our role in originating ecological assets. And three, I'm going to briefly pitch you on why ecological assets are essential for Cosmos Fi, DeFi more broadly, and the emergence of regenerative finance. And then I'll pass it on. So R&D Inc. Back in, I guess, early 2019, took over the role of maintaining the Cosmos SDK. So this happened because over time, we had been, as an application-specific blockchain, making demands of the Cosmos SDK that it couldn't fulfill. We had use cases around UI that led to things like shipping auth-z. We had use cases around governance that led to us designing the groups module, which is coming in 046. We had a set of needs that arose from a specific use case of connecting land stewards and scientists and corporate purchasers into a two-sided marketplace to be able to originate high-quality carbon and sell it to someone on the other end as a carbon offset that the existing Cosmos SDK didn't allow us to do. We, like many people in this amazing ecosystem, we rolled up our sleeves and we just started working on it. And eventually that led to a request for us to start maintaining the Cosmos SDK, which has really been amazing because it's allowed us to build and sort of maintain a strong engineering team, contribute to the ecosystem that we're so passionate about, while also taking our time to build a correct by construction sovereign zone, specifically and purposely built for originating high-quality ecological assets. So I'm going to tell you why high-quality ecological assets are important briefly, and then we'll talk about how we're doing those. So now we're in sort of the region-specific part of the talk here. So ecological assets are very interesting, I think, for this community because they're uncorrelated with other digital assets. And so if we're talking about creating a stable coin for an ecosystem, you want to have a basket of different assets that aren't tightly correlated. Well, carbon markets operate in a much bigger domain. The World Economic Forum estimates that by 2050, the annual market for just nature-based carbon credits will be $2 trillion. All right, and so that's integrating into a much larger economy. Okay, that's exciting. It's also impossible with existing carbon market mechanisms because things are opaque, they're not efficient. So there's a whole bundle of reasons why blockchain technology is really exciting for people in carbon markets and why the crypto X carbon intersection and the emergence of refi is such a hot topic. Wall Street Journal is talking about it. There's all sorts of things happening. It's really a movement. Like, this is something that's getting its time in the sun. But it's all impossible, we believe, without a plausibly neutral sovereign zone to govern the origination process of high-quality ecological assets. What happens if your credit and ecological asset origination system has incentives that are different from maintaining quality assurance and integrity and governing that origination process? It starts to distort the quality of the credits, and it will lead to something like a subprime carbon collapse in the future. That's not what we want. We want stable, healthy markets. We want high-quality collateral. So Regan Network and our marketplace, which is launching in July, late July, is purpose-built to sort of bring in all of the stakeholders who need to participate in order to guarantee high-quality origination of ecological assets to co-own and co-govern the blockchain. That includes farmers and scientists, that includes developers, validators, that includes businesses, that includes governments. So this is a place to have specific focus on that then we can originate those ecological assets and we can move them onto Osmosis. We can back Inter. We can put them onto Juno. We can help them form an asset for new chains that are exploring different sort of opportunities. So that's Regan's core purpose in the Cosmos ecosystem and beyond. So I'm super grateful to have gotten to explain a little bit about this. If you want to learn more, you can check out Regan.network. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm always shitposting about this stuff. Regan Network shitposter in chief, and you can and also just to note, we have a really vibrant Twitter Spaces every week, Regenerati News Hour, where scientists or people applying machine learning or artificial intelligence to ecological state claims or indigenous land stewards are coming and hashing out the real in-the-weeds process of building this specific zone dedicated to regenerative finance and the origination of ecological assets. So come join us.
I'm really excited for zero carbon chains. Thank you, Regan Network. I'm here to talk about Juno. What is Juno? Well, it's a sovereign layer 1 in the interchain, which we're also excited about. It has a really strong developer ecosystem. We're getting all the Terra devs, no Do Kwon on Juno. It's fully community owned and operated. There was no pre-sale, there was no VCs. Juno is DAO first. And we offer permissionless WebAssembly smart contracts with CosmWasm, which is awesome. A bit about why WASM. No EVM on Juno. Well, WASM is actually great. I would argue it's a better VM. You can use existing languages like Rust, Golang smart contracts are supported. And eventually, you can use things like assembly script, C#, C++. If you want formal verification, you can use something like Scala. WebAssembly is a really great VM. It's really easy to write secure contracts with CosmWasm. could talk or do a whole talk on it. I'm just got to breathe through. You can use existing libraries. If you want to make a really cool generative art NFT and you want a math library, you don't have to rewrite it in Solidity. You can just Argo add, the library you want. There's a lot of great Rust libraries. It's highly extensible. You can do a lot of really custom stuff. Osmosis has like custom bindings for everything in their chain. It's IBC ready. You can write cross-chain smart contracts. That's really great. And performance. Performance is awesome. I've got this, usually we think about TPS, but what about the largest computable Fibonacci number you can do in a smart contract? CosmWasm blows away. And Juno is the best way to launch your own Cosmos chain. Don't worry about getting a validator set. Just build your protocol in CosmWasm, iterate rapidly on Juno, get some product market fit with our very engaged community, and then launch your own sovereign chain and use Interchange Security. Oh, and it's one of the most active DAOs in crypto, at least in terms of on-chain votes. We've had very, very high turnout. Have you ever heard of like 98.5% turnout in like a DAO vote? Well, that's happened. And what's our secret? Well, we maintain max drama per second at all times. We've had some pretty controversial and groundbreaking and exciting things happen at Juno. And yeah, we've got this first CoinDesk article, classic. It's a long story. It deserves its own talk, really. But we've had some other drama happen. They got this thing. But do you know what? We fixed it. We voted to fix the mistake. Funds are now in the intended place. Someone should write a story about that. If there's a CoinDesk article, we really should do a follow-up because there's some really cool things happening. And guess what? It's all a complicated situation, but we're making progress in getting the funds to the intended people and exploring the best solutions. So, oh wow, this is why you don't make your slides in Linux. Governance is a feature and not a bug. It's one of the coolest things about some of what we're building. If something bad happens, if there's a mistake, if $34 million goes to the wrong place, well, we can use social consensus to fix it. And that's, I would argue, a great and groundbreaking thing. There's billions of dollars trapped in smart contracts with Ethereum, and it's shitty UX. But to make on-chain governance work, we need better DAO tooling. We really need to level up our governance if we're going to make things like this work in the future. And so we're working on better DAO tooling. We've got something called DAO DAO. DAO.zone. Check it out. It is fully on-chain, no code. You don't have to be a programmer to use it. You can just use a UI and do a bunch of really cool stuff. It's customizable. You can use NFT voting. We have native Cosmos SDK voting tokens, a bunch of stuff. It's modular. It's importantly interchain. I'll touch on that in a bit. And it's DAO tooling. We've got this is Dog DAO. You can vote on dogs. But what can interchain DAOs do? This is, this is the Cosmos session. Well, interchain DAOs can launch NFTs on Stargaze. They can take their treasury and LP it on Osmosis to get income for the DAO by a yield. You can host a server on Akash, the decentralized compute marketplace. You don't have to fill out a credit card or enter your business address for, AWS. You can stake on the Cosmos Hub to secure the interchain. You can call EVM smart contracts on Evmos if you really, really want to use the EVM, but you can't do it the other way around. And you can send IBC packets to Polkadot soon. The interchain is really becoming a thing. IBC, let's go. Oh yeah, and we can help fund Terra developers to leave their. So yeah, we've been. This is the Terra Developer Fund. Got $1 million Juno to help Terra developers find a new home since they lost all their money because they got rugged. And we've got some really great projects coming. These slides are 10 days old, but Loop, they're building a launch pad on Juno and some an NFT marketplace and a couple other things. We have Kato fiat on-ramping. They're also coming to Osmosis too, so you can just buy Juno or Osmo directly and use it for cool DAOs and stuff. We have new wallets coming, Leap. There is CoinHall. It's nice to see Juno up there with Near. VC chain versus community chain, great. And we have subquery, also the graph as well. So these are indexers that allow people to build these really rich applications. You know what? We're just getting started because we've got all these ways for people to come build with us. There's Hack Juno happening soon. There's going to be some really big announcements about that at Juno Network on Twitter. Lots of prizes. We have the Terra Dev Fund. If you're a Terra project looking for a new home, come talk to me or us. Or we have dev grants. We're really funding a whole Cosmwasm ecosystem, and it's really important to do so, especially in trying bear market times like this. And we've got a community pool. 16 million Juno for the ecosystem, and it's and onto the DeFi hub of the Cosmos, Osmosis. So thank you.
Hello. Hey guys, my name is Sunny. I'm a developer on Osmosis. So what is Osmosis? Osmosis is a DEX. But what makes it interesting is that it's a DEX built as its own blockchain. So unlike your Uniswaps or Serums or whatever, it's no, this is the sole purpose of this blockchain is to be the best interchain DEX possible. And so we're very quickly approaching our 1-year anniversary I think in about a week or two. And in the past 1 year, we've done about $17.6 billion of cumulative trading volume on the DEX. We've had over 330,000 unique accounts trading on Osmosis. Our liquidity has taken a little bit of a hit thanks to market conditions, I would say. But if you redenominate it in looking at it in crypto terms, minus a slight hit we got from Terra collapse, we see that liquidity is still continuously growing. Users are still continuing to LP, and we're sort of on this road to recovery. A little bit about the volume charts, generally pretty in line with crypto markets as a whole. But beyond just being a DEX, we're sort of have this sort of important role within the Cosmos ecosystem. We are sort of one of the main, most well-connected chains in the entire ecosystem. We have the most amount of economic value flowing over IBC, the most number of IBC transactions. And because part of the goal when we started Osmosis, so a lot of the core developers of Osmosis have been working in the Cosmos ecosystem for over 5 years now. And we saw IBC had just launched, and our goal was okay, how do we make it so this can actually, how do we actually kickstart this thing? And so since the time that Osmosis launched, we went from 8 chains with IBC to over 60 chains with IBC today, and we expect that number to keep growing. And then beyond just on IBC, I think we've been helping push forward a lot of things with just staking and governance. So we launched Superfluid staking, which was it's sort of the biggest advancement in proof of stake. It's a way of using DeFi assets natively to help secure the chain and improve security of proof of stake blockchains. We have one of the most active DAOs where we have over the first year, we've had an average of 5 governance proposals a week. And yeah, so where are we going from here? What are we looking for the future? So a couple of things, new user flows, where currently today, Osmosis feels very much like your centralized exchange experience, which is what we were kind of trying to mimic, where you come, deposit assets, you do your trading, and then when you want to leave, you withdraw assets back to their original chain. But I think what people also want, I miss that good old Shapeshift experience where, you just put in an address and, it's these native to native swaps. And so we're working with the Axelar team to build this sort of native to native experience where, you have ETH on Ethereum and you want AVAX on Avalanche and, maybe you need to go pay gas fees or do something there. So you can do that all in sort of a single click. You don't even need to have an account on Osmosis. It just gets all routed through the liquidity that Osmosis, the interchain liquidity that Osmosis. And then beyond just the goal of Osmosis is to compete with centralized exchanges. And today, centralized exchanges, yes, they offer their spot trading, but what they really have is they're an ecosystem, sort of a package of products that are put together into this like well unified whole. And so, we have their spot trading, but we also have margin trading and fiat on-ramps and derivatives and launch pads. And so the goal is that the Osmosis chain as a whole should be providing the similar functionalities. And so we're doing that. We have the Osmosis DEX, of course, but there's a lot of new things coming, such as the Mars protocol coming over from Terra. They're building sort of a margin trading facility for Osmosis. We have Cato with fiat on-ramps. We have Phase for building dollar cost averaging systems. We have Apollo, who's helped building strategy vaults. And so, but like, okay, great. We're mirroring all these functionalities of a centralized exchange. Then what's the point? Why aren't we just using centralized exchanges then, right? So, there's two things I think that make DEXs and like DeFi that will different than centralized exchanges and CeFi is privacy and composability. So on the privacy side, we're working on building native front-running prevention into the chain itself using something called threshold encryption. And we're working with a project called Void Protocol, which is coming over from Terra to bring on-chain privacy into the chain itself. And then the other piece is that, composability. You can get this like level of composability with DeFi that you can't get in centralized exchanges where API access is limited. And, Cosmos, everyone else in the crypto ecosystem is starting to think about like cross-chain communication. We've not been thinking about it, but we've been building and shipping it over the last 3 years. And we're like ready to sort of make it a reality. Osmosis just added interchain accounts last week, which is the ability for a contract or application on one chain to interact with another chain. So, Jake just talked a little bit about it as well, but like, so now that this means that we can have dApps on other chains like, Sommelier or White Whale, Defund, Agoric, actually making use of the Osmosis DEX, trading on the DEX, providing liquidity, doing all these interactions cross-chain natively. How do we make this all possible? Developers. We have CosmWasm on the chain. Jake kind of talked a lot about all the benefits of CosmWasm, so I won't go too much into it. We're building a lot of tooling to help make it much easier for people to use CosmWasm. So we have this tool called Beaker that we're making it, just makes it easy. It's similar to Ignite, how Ignite helps you build Cosmos SDK chains. Beaker is sort of the CosmWasm equivalent of it. It helps you scaffold out CosmWasm contracts that can then be deployed to Osmosis or Juno or Stargaze or any CosmWasm-enabled chain. We're building tools like Telescope that will make it much easier to build JavaScript libraries. We use the Telescope tool to build Osmo.js, which makes it easy for anyone to build custom front ends for Osmosis. There's a project called Sinfonia, for example, that like has their own version of the Osmosis front end that's focused on their creator tokens, but still powered by Osmosis in the back end. And then a lot of external tooling from external developers as well. So there's a Osmosis party tomorrow. Come check it out. That's the link. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all, our amazing speakers. You may return to the seats. Thank you very much. And up next, we have a talk from the Cosmos Hub product lead, Billy Rennekamp.
Hello. Mic working. Changelog. Welcome to the Cosmos Changelog. I'm Billy Rennekamp. I'm going to be talking about going beyond the white paper. So really quickly about me, I'm Billy. I'm from Kentucky. If you want to not talk about blockchains and talk about bluegrass music, horses, or bourbon, come talk to me about that afterwards. But I'm the Cosmos Hub team lead prior as the grants manager at the Interchain Foundation, which meant that I was coordinating a lot of the funding and development that went into the Internet of Blockchains, the Cosmos Network, and the Cosmos Hub. And now I more directly work on integrating that into the Cosmos Hub itself. Prior to that, I was in the Ethereum space working on early AMMs, bonding curves, NFTs, web development, and my background is in electronic art. But before I talk about what is the status of the project Cosmos, the Internet of Blockchains, I just want to do a real quick refresher of what Cosmos is, because it's expansive. It's huge, actually. It's many different goals moving in many different directions. And what really sort of ties it all together when you zoom all the way out is this idea of an internet of blockchains. And the reason an internet of blockchains is important is because we believe that it is the path to successfully scaling blockchains to a mass audience. And that's not limited to any one architectural choice, any one group of blockchains or anything like that. In fact, I like to think that everybody's part of the internet of blockchains. They might not just realize it yet. But I'd say if there was one differentiating feature, it's the idea that any blockchain that subscribes to the idea that there's not one chain to rule them all is part of the internet of blockchains and part of that mission. The way that Cosmos contributes to that mission is by providing different tools and different ways specifically to build application-specific blockchains. Application-specific blockchains will provide 3 key features that allow blockchains to scale. Those are specialization, sovereignty, and interoperability. Specialization is important because it means that when you have an application-specific blockchain, you don't have to compromise the features due to the other applications who are using your shared state environment. You're able to have a blockchain built custom fit for your needs. When we see blockchains, when we see applications deployed to shared state virtual machines, often we see problems where an update will break an entire class of applications because it's just too hard to accommodate all of these applications at once. And that really speaks to the idea of sovereignty, actually. So when you have an application-specific blockchain and your entire app is built custom fit for the technology, married to it perfectly, it's a lot easier to coordinate the updates and the development around that application. There's not this conflict of interest. There's not a bunch of people vying for attention under the core developer's feature set. It means that you're able to make votes that are actually keyed into the purpose of that blockchain instead of having something like the DAO attack when Ethereum forked into Ethereum Classic and mainnet because they just couldn't agree. What is the purpose of this blockchain? Is code law or is it this other thing? And they split across because there were too many people with different interests. But when you have application-specific blockchains, it remains a lot simpler to have sovereignty over what exactly that chain is doing. And of course, interoperability is the key feature that makes all this possible because we don't want to repeat the mistakes of having siloed blockchains that are built only for themselves with the expectation that they will only be the ever blockchain that exists. With interoperability, you really make sure that from day one, you're building in a way that expects there to be other blockchains. And you need to have that compounding value and composability that we're all used to and expecting from developing in dApps today without compromising them. So interoperability is really a reference to inter-blockchain communication, the flexible and robust protocol for communicating between blockchains that makes this whole Internet of Blockchains vision really possible. And we've launched IBC since last year. And since then, we have, I think 60 was one of the numbers on the screen. I'll say 50 later, 48 here. It's hard to keep track of how many there are because it's so easy to launch them, and they're all just connecting to each other. And I checked out some data the other day. It looks like we have over $10 trillion in IBC assets transferred in just the last month. But what is the Cosmos Hub? So Cosmos is this larger vision, but there's also this blockchain called the Cosmos Hub, which was part of the genesis of this entire idea. It's the Atom blockchain, and it was built as part of the same white paper and vision for this entire system. But really at its core, the Cosmos Hub is an infrastructure level blockchain for servicing other blockchains. When you model your whole system after the internet, you don't have every computer in the world connected directly to every computer. They're connected via hubs. It's just impossible to have them all directly connected. And today, while we still are in the low double digits of blockchains, it's still feasible to have every blockchain connect directly to each other. But as we expand that number, it's going to become increasingly impossible. And that's where the role of the hub as a routing blockchain to move these IBC packets between blockchains will become extremely important. But the Atom at this point is still working as a fee network for the staking token of the Cosmos Hub. It's also the on-ramp to the interchain. Because Atom has the widest listings on centralized exchanges, it's sort of like the first stop to entering this vast ecosystem of Cosmos Network. So it's the on-ramp, the off-ramp, kind of the starting page for the Internet of Blockchains. And it's also a correlated liquidity pair. Because Atom has the prevalence across the ecosystem, it's used as the deepest liquidity pools across different assets. But beyond that, the Cosmos Hub has really been functioning as a credibly neutral point of coordination for the development of this public goods infrastructure. So all of these projects, which just were on stage earlier, have been building using the Cosmos SDK, CosmWasm, Tendermint, IBC. All of that has been funded and developed by the Atom blockchain. It's really, at its core, building towards this broader mission of an Internet of Blockchains. And in doing so, it is a coordination point for that work. So what was actually in the white paper that has been achieved? Early on, we achieved first versions of Tendermint, which is a robust and efficient consensus mechanism. It's for proof-of-stake consensus. The Cosmos SDK is a development kit that makes it easy to build blockchains. Cosmos Hub, as I mentioned, is for routing traffic and coordinating the ecosystem. IBC is for the seamless and secure connectivity of these blockchains. We also had an Ethereum bridge and Ethermint to make sure that you weren't leaving behind blockchains who weren't IBC compatible, and just as sort of the ability to show that it's possible to build a proof-of-stake blockchain like Ethereum without having to go through many years of changing your plan. And as you look at the mainnet Ethereum's plans develop and change today, they look more and more like Tendermint-based EVM, which we've had for years. So we finished all these in 2021, but we've been hard at work since then as well. Since the completion of the white paper, we've continued to expand IBC with more connected chains, with assets being transferred. We also have new standards for the IBC protocol, so not just transferring tokens, but also NFTs. We have interchain accounts, which has been mentioned a couple times on stage, that allows one blockchain to operate accounts on another blockchain. And cross-chain validation is another IBC protocol that allows the Cosmos version of shared security to come in that I'll talk more about later. Beyond that, we've been working with other teams and other ecosystems to create new clients for IBC. So that means that it's not just Tendermint-based chains, which can benefit from IBC, but working with teams on Substrate, Solidity, IBFT, which is part of Celo, and PBFT, which is part of Harmony, so that IBC can have native integrations to all of these diverse blockchain ecosystems. We've also been working on lowering the UX barrier. I think the user experience barrier is one of the largest hurdles that faces the entire industry. It's what's keeping mass adoption in one of the most fundamental ways. And when you have access to your entire blockchain stack and you can build features in natively instead of as abstractions and smart contracts on top, you can make a lot of leaps and bounds in that area. So features like Auth-Z, groups, fee grant, and MetaTX makes it possible to have things like two-factor authentication and account recovery with private key cryptography. We've also been working on diversifying the talent pool and support for this work. Unlike a lot of blockchain projects, there's not just one private company working on development and one foundation funding it. There's now 16 core contributor teams and many more other projects that contribute indirectly or directly. There's also the recent announcement of the Builders Foundation, which is a second nonprofit foundation dedicated to the expansion of the Internet of Blockchain and the success. So it's not just one interchain foundation who's supporting this. And we also have expanded use of the community pool funding of the Cosmos Hub itself, which is a decentralized DAO that has its own block rewards that can pay for things on-chain. So all of this is basically references or sneak peeks into what's actually being formalized in the white paper 2.0. Once we finish the white paper 1, we want to make sure that everything is sort of lined up sequentially so that we can really execute beautifully. And a sneak preview of what's going into that have a few different categories. One of them is Atom monetary policy. So these are things that will change actually how Atom as a token and Atom as a currency works that'll support the success of the Internet of Blockchains and the Cosmos Hub itself. One category of these changes I like to refer to as Hub as Fund. Basically, with the Atom and the Cosmos Hub at the center of this ecosystem as an early contributor and a large market cap, it's able to sort of leverage that position a bit like a VC. You know, how can I help? What can I do to provide value to all of you blockchains out there? And it might be providing actual monetary value. It might be investing in other projects. The Cosmos Hub as a fund is really well positioned to actually act as an agent in this ecosystem. And now that we have interchain accounts, it's able to, because it is at its core a DAO. Other changes have to do with making Atom a bit closer to ideas around sound money. Ethan Buchman will be on the stage later, and we can maybe dive into some of his ideas around what sound money really looks like. We're going to continue working on the Cosmos Hub as a public goods coordination point, and we're going to look at ways to leverage that, not only to fund things via Atom, but allow all of these other successful networks who have launched to be able to use it as the funnel for paying for their own public goods infrastructure and development. Since the core cause of the Cosmos Hub is sort of to work on these public goods funding, we can leverage and reuse that system for other projects who are working towards similar ends. But the real piece of the white paper 2.0 is a category of interchain services. So like I said, the hub is a little bit like a VC in the middle saying, how can I be helpful? And yes, giving money is one way, but we all know that VCs should be offering way more than that. They should be offering connections, services, different things that actually accelerate your development. Some we have on the roadmap are increasing the capacity for multi-hop routing, relayer incentives. Relayers are basically the internet service providers of the Internet of Blockchains, making sure that their jobs continue to work well, that packets are routed quickly, and that they're able to make money in that process. as well as new changes around a protocol-controlled value. So this is a sort of a reference to that sound money, just the idea of making sure that Atom continues to be correlated with the assets and the value that it creates across the ecosystem. But the big one is interchain security. I've given it its own slide because it's so important. Interchain security is the Cosmos solution to shared security. So it is a bottom-up solution rather than a top-down, because we've always built in a permissionless manner. There's no requirement to use Atom, no token lock-in. IBC is free to use. Anybody can show up and do it. It's not like a bridge that you have to get permission in order to be part of a specific set who's allowed to do things. IBC is open and trustless, and so is the Internet of Blockchains. However, we do think that there's ways to leverage the security of the Cosmos Hub to accelerate new chains. It is an Atom-denominated validator set. It is the same validator set as the Cosmos Hub, who will now produce blocks on other blockchains. The first blockchains that we expect to see it produce blocks on are basically chains which would otherwise be part of the Cosmos Hub itself. We like to think of this as multi-threading the Cosmos Hub, which creates fault isolation for the Cosmos Hub. It means that since the importance of Atom block production is so high, we don't want to add complexity or compromise the ability for the Cosmos Hub itself to halt because it has some sort of a bug, because we always sort of want to make sure we see it live. And by putting new features of the Cosmos Hub on interchain secured zones, we're able to have the same security of the Cosmos Hub, the same Atom-denominated value, the same governance, except for it's able to run independently of that blockchain itself. This is also easy to leverage for lowering the barrier to launch new application-specific blockchains. So if you're coming from the DApp ecosystem and you're like, I just want to focus on my DApp, I don't want to worry about getting a validator set, I just want to launch, but need security like comparable to the Cosmos Hub, you can leverage the same validator set, launch as your own application, and still produce blocks with the same integrity. Different from other shared security systems, it has flexible pricing. Rather than paying a lot of money up front on something like an auction, interchain security works with block rewards. So every time a miner or a block producer would receive a block reward on a new blockchain, instead of those going to a new validator set, those go to the Cosmos validator set. So as an Atom delegator or validator or staker, you're not only receiving block rewards in Atom, but you begin receiving block rewards in all of the different tokens that are being interchain secured. The longer term value add, I think, for interchain security, and one that I'm excited to see play out, is actually the defensively decentralized aspect of it. So I imagine that we're all still in a pretty easygoing phase of the blockchain industry. We're pretty friendly to each other, and we have unclarity around regularity. But I do believe that it's going to get stricter in the future, and there's going to be a lot more need to have legally justifiably decentralized networks launch. And by using the Cosmos Hub validator set, I think you have a much easier play at justifying that a new network is legally decentralized. So as you see, there's a few different vectors that the Cosmos Hub continues to expand at the Cosmos network. As they all go through, they're still all servicing the larger mission, which is the mass adoption of blockchain technology through the configuration of the Internet of Blockchains. Now we've got Jodie, I think, is going to come up and ask some questions. Thanks very much.
Hi, Billy.
How are you doing?
That was great, thanks. Everybody, I'm Jodie Gunzberg, and I'm the managing director at CoinDesk Indices, and we work mainly with institutional investors. So I've got a question for you that comes up a lot from our investors. They're concerned about the industry classifications of the assets that we worked with. And we classify, according to our digital asset classification standard, Cosmos into the industry of the multi-chain parachain. And you've, as we've talked, you've talked a little bit about the difference between the multi-chain and the interchain. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So it's funny, you hear the term multi-chain a lot. I mean, we even heard it on stage earlier today, but I kind of think of multi-chain as like a dirty word or a bad word. It's like, it's a pessimistic view on many chains existing. And it makes me think of retrofitted solutions, makes me think of having to piecemeal this reality after the fact. You're like, oh no, the multi-chain is complicated. Oh no, what are we going to do about the multi-chain? The multi-chain sucks, it's awful. And it's because all of these blockchains weren't built with the idea that there's going to be many blockchains in mind, whereas interchain is sort of built ground up. You're expecting this configuration, you're expecting this topology, make sure it's built ready for that.
Thanks. And you know, another thing that a lot of our investors are asking about is, in terms of the classification, you know, how you split your attention, given your concern of the success with both the Cosmos Hub and the Interchain. You know, if you think about traditional companies and in terms of investments, we kind of categorize them by where their percentage of revenues are coming from. So how do you define yourself that way?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it all has to do with the fact that we have a very long scope, very long vision. And if you wind back to 2017 in the white paper, you know, it's describing solving problems that we haven't even seen fully manifested. And so we're really here for the long vision. And I think that part of that means that we're always working on what is most relevant in that moment because, you know, we know there'll be a time and place for everything. So for the last few years, it's really been about Tendermint, Cosmos SDK, IBC, putting these tools in the hands of blockchains to let them be successful and launch. And I think we've seen product market fit there. You know, we've seen all of these chains launch permissionlessly without our need anymore. And the focus of a lot of the core entities now are really actually back on the Cosmos Hub itself, which is, you know, like I said, well positioned to accelerate this growth in all these different ways with interchain services, et cetera, because we've sort of achieved the initial mission, which is make it possible to have an internet of blockchains. And so while it's difficult to have all of it in your scope at the same time, that's sort of how we've played it out over the years and why there's especially now a re-emphasis and a focus on making the Cosmos Hub a successful blockchain.
Thanks. And how does Cosmos differentiate or incorporate the roll-up scalability?
Well, I mean, proof-of-stake networks have the ability to scale a lot easier than proof-of-work for different capacities. The other sort of real key feature there is, as I mentioned, is application-specific. So when each application has its own blockchain, you're not sharing block space with other applications either. So you have tons of leverage there just to increase capacity. All of these things have to do with vertical scalability, though. How do you squeeze more transactions per second into a single application? So yeah, by separating them into separate applications, you get a lot. And then with things like Tendermint, you're able to make huge improvements on the vertical scalability. But when there's a physical limit to how many transactions per second you can fit into a block, then we revert to horizontal scalability, which is the shared security solution, where you're able to have two blockchains with the exact same validator set, which means it has the same security, but you've now just doubled its capacity. So it's basically like sharding in the traditional sense. And so we have these different ways of approaching scalability to make sure that the applications are always adequately satisfied with the user group that they're serving.
Given your structure and the scalability, would you consider Atom as a sort of an index token for all of Cosmos?
Yeah, it's certainly a direction that we the like monetary policy developed towards. I mentioned that that's one of the sort of verticals under the white paper 2.0. We see it today just because it's correlated through deep liquidity pools, but I think there's a lot more ways that we can leverage that, either with the hub as a fund or with different protocol controlled value systems, because you know, like I said, there's no token lock-in, there's no requirement to use Atom to be a part of the Internet of Blockchains, but certainly Atom as a sort of like overarching representation of the community and the work, it already does represent the community as sort of like a social index, and we want to make sure that there's very sort of like hard in-chain protocol aspects that continue to sort of leverage that so that the success of all of these other projects is correlated back into the Atom itself.
Thanks. And looking into the future, how many blockchains do you think will exist?
Peng said 1 million blockchains earlier. I get this question a lot with a lot of incredulous. But I actually don't think 1 million is too far off. I do see blockchains being simplified to the point that it's not even like a big deal to be a blockchain, so that, you know, the number of applications we see in the world on the internet, that you would not be surprised to have, you know, a single application on a single phone be technically a blockchain, to be able to see like WordPress instances as blockchains. IBC was built flexible enough so that it can accommodate a really sort of mass variety of what we call like proof that this message came from this system. And most of those systems are distributed ledgers with consensus, but those systems could be private computers, those systems could be a WordPress, and it can still leverage IBC, still send tokens between it. So I think by expanding your definition of what a blockchain is, we really could see millions.
Thanks very much. Let's get on with the show, and thanks again.
Thanks for the questions.
Thank you. That was brilliant. Next up, please welcome Director of Ecosystem Growth at Ignite, Olya Dukova.
Good afternoon. My name is Olia, and I'm here to talk about Ignite CLI. I was going to start with going through the top context of Cosmos ecosystem and sharing a few stats, but Billy covered this so well, I think we can probably move on. I would like, though, to highlight the vision of Cosmos, which is to empower developers to build entirely autonomous application-specific blockchains that can easily interconnect. Here we've got Cosmos Network Explorer. So this dynamic application lives on mapofzones.com and allows you to explore all the different projects within the ecosystem. I encourage you to check it out. IBC, so Cosmos Applications and Services are connected through IBC, which we've talked about already. So let's move on to CLI. So Ignite CLI is a very easy to use developer tool for building and maintaining application-specific blockchains. Let's have a look at the main features of the CLI. So we have powerful code scaffolding. You can scaffold the blockchain with a single command, which will generate boilerplate code so that you have time to work on the custom logic of your application to make it really unique. Hot reloading service. With the CLI, you can easily spin off local blockchain environments and experiment, monitor changes, and maybe identify errors while your blockchains are running. Cross-chain data transfer is available through IBC, so you can seamlessly connect to any other blockchain and exchange tokens, access NFTs, smart contracts, and much more. And we also offer pre-built client-side applications which are ready for you to configure with very top-level UI that is fully customizable. So again, that you can get your applications live faster. A few projects built with Ignite, so MediaBlock, Regan Network, Relay Network, FirmChain, and many others. At Ignite, we strive to make it as easy for developers as possible to get started with blockchain development. We provide a variety of educational resources. So in our docs, you can find anything from a very basic level, kind of hello world style application tutorials to more advanced modules. Okay, demo time. We now have a short video where Denis Fadeev, who's VP of Product at Ignite, shows us the CLI in action.
To install Ignite CLI, run the following command in your terminal window. The latest version of the binary will be downloaded and installed on your local machine. Now that we have Ignite CLI installed, we can scaffold a blockchain. Let's call it a DEX. This command will generate the code for a brand new Cosmos SDK blockchain and install all the dependencies. In the sidebar, you can see a directory structure of our project. Blockchain modules contain the logic for processing transactions and changing the state. The modules are stored in the X directory. By default, Ignite generates a module named after the project. You can scaffold additional modules with Ignite. Config.yaml is an Ignite-specific file for configuring the blockchain and the environment during development. You can add new accounts, set balances, customize client code generation, configure the faucet, set custom values in the Genesis, and much more. Protocol buffer files for the project are stored in the proto directory. They describe data types and services that will be used in the blockchain modules. The app directory contains the logic for wiring modules together and importing additional modules. Now that we've got more familiar with the directory structure, let's create a new blank module called Exchange. We'll use an IBC flag to make the module IBC compatible. You can see in the sidebar that new files and directories are being added to the project. Commit the files to a version control system. This is a good practice because it allows you to go back in time and undo unwanted changes. Now that we have our exchange module, let's create our first data model. We're using Ignite to scaffold a list of pools. A pool will have 3 fields: an amount of type coins, denom a string, and the height of type integer. The model will be added to the exchange module. If we go inside the keeper, we will see pool-specific logic in the module's source code. Now let's start the blockchain node locally with Ignite chain serve. Serve builds the protocol buffer files, installs dependencies, builds the blockchain binary, initializes the blockchain, and starts the node. By default, every model, like a pool in this example, comes with logic to create, delete, and update instances of the model. Let's test this functionality by creating our first pool from the terminal. We'll be using the DEXD binary that Ignite has compiled for us. Let's use the create pool command and pass an amount in coins, a denom, and a height as test data. We're using a from flag to specify an account from which this transaction will be broadcasted. We confirm and sign a transaction. We can now use the list pool command to see all the pools on the blockchain. Now that we've tested the functionality, let's quickly inspect the source code that was generated to make all of this possible. In the message server pool.go, we can see the functions to create, update, and delete pools. You can edit the source code, change the behavior, add custom logic your blockchain application needs. Of course, you can open a terminal and add more models to quickly scaffold the rest of your application. Now let's see other features of Ignite. Every blockchain created with Ignite comes with a web application that can act as a template to build your web app for your chain. Execute npm run dev in the view directory to start the web app locally. This web app features a list of assets, transactions, and allows a user to send and receive tokens. It is connected to an extension wallet out of the box. Click on Connect Wallet to connect your application to the Kepler wallet extension. If you open the drop-down in the top right, you will be able to see and copy your address. Now navigate to the Faucet UI on port 4500, paste your address, and request tokens. If you go back to the web app now, you will see the tokens in the Assets section. You can use the send form on the right to send tokens to other addresses. Now let's go back to the source code and add the pool functionality to our web app. Uncomment the SP_CRUD component and modify the store and item name props with correct values. If we go back to the app, we'll see a pool that we've previously created on the CLI show up in the interface. You can create a new pool by filling out a form dynamically generated for us using the fields of the model. A transaction with a create pool message is created, signed, and broadcasted in the wallet extension. We can see a new pool added to the list. Ignite CLI is a powerful developer tool that lets you create blockchains, add functionality to them, connect a blockchain with a built-in IBC relayer. It features code generation, a front-end template, and everything else you need to become productive building blockchain applications.
Okay. To wrap up this introduction, I would like to stress, as mentioned by Peng earlier, that the CLI is one of the 3 main components of the all-in-one innovation platform for blockchain development that is Ignite. I would like to invite you to join our community. We have an active, very fast-growing community on a Discord server. You can also find us on Twitter and, of course, GitHub. Every month we run community calls where we cover the latest product updates, also go through developer programs such as the Bounty program, and feature projects built with Ignite CLI. So that's a great opportunity to meet fellow blockchain developers for inspiration, maybe feedback, and potential collaboration. Our Bounty program allows you to earn awards for contributing to the CLI code base. You can find more details about the program in our docs, but also on the Discord server, and we regularly post new bounties on Twitter. Okay, Ignite Happy Hour is happening tomorrow from 5:30 p.m. at the Consensus Bar. I would like to invite you all to join us, meet the team, say hello. If you have any questions about the CLI or Ignite in general, we will be more than happy to have these conversations there with you. Okay, I hope you enjoy the rest of the session. Thank you.
Oh yeah, yes. Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Up next, and our final talk for the stage for the day, we have a lovely panel with some Cosmos OGs. So please welcome, we got Peng Zhong, CEO of Ignite. We have Zaki Manian, a co-founder of Inclusion, Billy Rennekamp, Cosmos Hub team lead, Sunny Aggarwal, co-founder of Osmosis, and last but not least, Ethan Buchman, co-founder of Informal Systems and Cosmos itself.
We still have all of our mics working?
Hello. I think so.
Hello. Testing.
Thank you very much for joining. Thanks for joining everybody here. So Cosmos is interesting because there's sort of this like genesis with the Cosmos Hub, the white paper, but the whole point of it was to really open the doors so that it could expand as fast as possible. You guys all represent different blockchains, different organizations, and I want to sort of dive in for each of you. Where do you sort of fit on the constellation at this point? You know, with the expansion from a big bang of the genesis to expanding breadth, where are you here? What is your relationship to the center, to the outside? Which direction are you going in? What do you do and why? Maybe we begin actually with Ethan because you represent two and we can come back to you because you are original co-founder of the Cosmos Network. You're the president of the Interchain Foundation. Where does the Interchain Foundation, where did it begin and where does it sit in relationship to the Internet of Blockchains, the Cosmos Hub, and all of this?
Yeah, so the Interchain Foundation was set up in 2017 with a primary mission to promote and develop open decentralized technologies to bring greater sovereignty, security, sustainability to the world's communities. So today, the Interchain Foundation, we call it the ICF, is stewarding a pretty vast ecosystem of technologies and organizations that are all working together to build the cosmos. And we see the ICF as really a service organization that's out there really trying to support and serve the many different developer teams, who you'll hear from in a moment, to work together to collaborate to take Cosmos to the next level.
Zaki, you're sort of notoriously everywhere all at once. You were there from day one. You were at the genesis of like the dawn of time or something. I feel like you could talk about a million different ways that you're involved and have been, but just to briefly iterate some of them, you were the president of Tendermint Labs at Tendermint. You run Inclusion, which is a validator. You're the founder of the Sommelier blockchain. You're also the, what is the title with relationship to the foundation of Agoric?
I'm a director at the foundation.
Okay, so one of the things I wanted to use this session for is to sort of talk about like the way that projects are, you know, let's say emotionally, socially configured within the internet blockchain, like the philosophy, as well as ones that are like very concretely on-chain with a protocol attached to, say, Atom or more specifically parts of IBC protocol. Can you talk about how specifically Agoric fits into that scheme, which side of the dichotomy is it on, and how does it reflect on each of those?
Yeah, so Agoric was also like a sort of key contributor to the development of IBC. And a lot of the ideas that IBC is based on like the Agoric founders' work going back like 40 years. So, you know, there's a lot of history that comes with Agoric and Cosmos. But currently, the development, so like, you know, Agoric is building this like very powerful programming platform for like sort of like the asynchronous IBC-enabled world. And the thing that we're sort of using as like sort of the sharp end of the spear to like sort of bring that platform to the world is this Inter stablecoin, which is going to be primarily backed by Atom out of the gate because Atom is the only asset that is native to IBC, is widely traded, has robust price discovery, exists in many markets, has a very clear sort of decentralization story that makes it a really strong asset to back a new stablecoin and really show what the secure JavaScript on Agoric can do.
And you also, on behalf of Occlusion, spearhead a lot of the actual engineering and development as one of the core contributor teams. Can you talk briefly about the different parts of the stack that you work on beyond Agoric?
Yeah, so if you look at all of the different things I work on, I'm still using a lot of the technologies that were used to build the Cosmos Hub across like virtually almost every project that I'm involved in some way, shape, or form. And so we continue to contribute back. We are also working on sort of liquid staking for Atom, which is, I think, a really important and part of the important evolution of Atom's tokenomics over time. That is like a big part of like, so like we work on Atom tokenomics, we work on the Cosmos SDK, I still contribute to Tendermint. Other people on the team continue. Remember, we built the TMKMS, the sort of secure signing system that most of the validators use. So this is what it is to be in Cosmos. Is you contribute to everything, and it never stops.
Thank you. Peng, I mean, your slides today really point to the fact that Ignite's contributing on many different fronts. But I mean, it's funny. We actually sort of joined on the same team way back. We were both on the wallet team in early days. So there's really been a huge arc, an expansion of concerns that Ignite, previously Tendermint Inc., are focusing on. Where does it fit today on the sort of like spectrum of the Internet of blockchains and this expanding scope, the priorities? And can you talk a little bit about like what that trajectory's been like?
Yeah, I think it's grown faster than any of us expected, right? I think mentally we can think about the numbers of projects and the numbers of chains and the value being transferred, but as humans we can't really interact with more than, what is it, Dunbar's number, right? 150 people that we can keep in our minds and remember, right? So yeah, I would say that growth has been faster than expected, but at the same time, there's so many ways that can make that grow even more. So Cosmos is famously developer-oriented and focused on, creating some of the best infrastructure, the most stable, the most secure, but also the most cutting-edge infrastructure for blockchain. But at the same time, as advancements proceed and as research is conducted, as new areas are explored, it's very difficult to bring everyone along with us, right? So one of the core focuses of Ignite is to continue to democratize access to technology, teach people how it works, bring newcomers into the ecosystem, as many of us work here and we're going to get to the 10-year mark at some point soon. We need the next generation of builders, the next generation of talent, the fresh blood, right, that will help rejuvenate, continue to grow the space and expand in areas that we've never even thought about. So I'm really excited to continue teaching new people about the Cosmos ecosystem and how to build value, how to build communities, and learn about things that we've learned about through these many years of developing Cosmos tech, but also maybe avoid a lot of the pitfalls that we've run into ourselves.
Cool. Sunny, you're simultaneously a veteran and young blood. You've been working on the project since you were very young, actually. You were initially a researcher at Tendermint Inc., right?
Yes.
Working on the SDK and different elements of the stack. Today, you are the co-founder of the Osmosis Network, the sort of DEX for the Interchain. Where does Osmosis sort of fit in this scheme, and like what is the trajectory and relationship for you from the sort of like center Big Bang event and sort of expansion of the Cosmos network?
Yeah, so when we were all working at Tendermint, we were building these tools to make the interchain really possible, Tendermint Core, Cosmos SDK, IBC, and it took us 3.5 years, I guess, to get the tools were actually like finished and usable. And then when those were done, it was the premise of Cosmos has always been around these ideas of app chains, and so eventually I always wanted to go build an app chain. And so when the tools were finally ready, it was like, okay, what's the app chain that we can start building that will sort of just kickstart the usage of these tools? Because IBC had been around for a few months, but until Osmosis really launched, it wasn't really being used other than for a few sort of test transactions. And so we kind of like looked at other ecosystems and saw like, okay, what was needed to like kick off the usage, and a DEX was sort of like the first main thing that was obviously needed. We also just got really into like anti-MEV and front-running sort of stuff, and we spent and I think the Tendermint core consensus protocol, being this like BFT protocol, enables you to do like all sorts of interesting things around like threshold cryptography in a way that you can't do with other consensus protocols. And so we started designing a anti-front running solution using that. And then we kind of realized, well, that's a feature, not a product. And so then we're like, okay, well, let's go build a DEX to take advantage of those features.
Nice. And coming full circle back to you, Ethan. So mentioned earlier, they're president of the Interchain Foundation, but you're also the CEO of Informal, which is one of the largest core contributor teams. Can you talk a bit about where Informal sits on the sort of spectrum and what your all's priorities, mission, vision, and what you focus on is?
Sure. Yeah, so Informal is a workers' cooperative that spun out of the Interchain Foundation a couple of years ago. Our long-term mission is to transform 3 key institutions in society: software, how we build and deploy it; money, how we issue and distribute it; and organizations, how we own and govern them. And in the short term, we feel that the best way to pursue that long-term mission is by focusing within the Cosmos ecosystem on building out a secure, scalable, sustainable interchain around the Cosmos Hub. So we're one of the core development teams. We focus a lot on both on Cosmos Hub development, leading the Interchain Security. We also do a lot of work on IBC. We built the Hermes relayer. We run a validator. We relay a ton of IBC traffic. And we also have a particular focus on security and security audits and tools for developers to achieve greater assurance in the quality and correctness of their software. So we're sort of covering a lot of pieces, really with a focus on security and partnering with other Cosmos chains and helping them to succeed.
So we've got Zaki, who sort of like has his hand in every single pot, helping things move along, mysteriously coordinating. Peng over here with Ignite, who's really focusing on getting new developers, lowering the barrier. Sunny, who's focusing on like the go-to-market of like the core product that we know all the degens really want. And we've got Ethan, who's sort of like keeping track of all of the actual pieces that are making these things happen all the time, as well as working with the foundation to make sure everybody gets paid. I mean, the Cosmos ecosystem is, like I said, sort of expansive, and the is massive. Zaki, you're somebody who I think keeps track of every moving piece, not only in the Cosmos ecosystem, but also outside of it, from cryptography to consensus to market dynamics to finance. Where do you see in the sort of like next 3 years that the distinguishing features that Cosmos is bringing to the table are really going to shine?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I think has been like just strange over the last like 2 or 3 weeks is just like I feel like the number of like Cosmos projects that I interact with has like 2 or 3x just like in a very short period of time. And part of it is Terra fallout, but maybe that's half of just the inflow that we've been seeing. And I think a lot of it is just coming down to people being, what is the right architecture for building a scalable, robust, like decentralized financial system that like large numbers of people can use. And really Cosmos is the right architecture, right? It allows you to innovate at every layer of the system, from consensus to like what your application is. It allows you to build things that are privacy oriented. It allows you to build rollups. It allows you to build, like almost all of these things can be built with this like modular set of tooling. And with the work in Celestia, like the modular sort of thesis is starting to like sort of take hold, which is really an extension of like the modular software development that like Jay and Ethan started back in Tendermint all the way back in 2014. And so like you do see this like convergence towards the thesis coming from many different projects. And really the challenge is continuously organizing that inflow, like creating like, working groups and social coordination among like all of these different diverse dev teams. And that's like largely what I do, is like build teams, make sure they're moving the right direction, make sure they get funded, make sure that all of these things like make sense. And then like when people run into problems, like they're like, I want some element of Cosmos to do the thing. Like, who do you work with to like overcome? And like we have so many specialists, from like Strangelove and their contributions to IBC. If you want to onboard some sort of new protocol into the IBC, like outside of Tendermint, Strangelove is the team to work with. The same thing if you want to build something, some sort of composability thing, and you want a development environment, they've built that. There's so many, Occlusion helps with like a lot of things like cryptography, consensus protocols, QA, like we have all of these things that we've built. So, it's just like, how do you use all the components? It's a really difficult thing to navigate, and I end up being like the switchboard for that.
It reminds me of something that, Ethan, you've talked about, that like maybe the greatest contribution in the long run to all of this isn't going to be the tech, but it's actually the ability to coordinate all of these different people and all these different endeavors. I mean, it's related to a question I want to follow up with you about, which is, you were there at the beginning. Cosmos was really working on solving problems that hadn't really even manifested yet. After some time has passed, what's been surprising? What problems did we not account for, and what ones did we execute well on? And I imagine it's related to this, the coordination explosion or something.
Yeah. So the whole, at the heart of the Cosmos philosophy is this idea of sovereignty and interoperability. And so then, everyone who's been part of building that has gone out and wanted to build their own sovereign chain, their own sovereign organization. And so, we've had this kind of proliferation, and now there's a ton of core development teams all collaborating and coordinating. And, there's an overhead to that that's challenging, but it makes the whole thing much more robust and a lot more exciting, because it really feels we're on the sort of frontier of a new way of collaborating on open decentralized technologies, and I think that really keeps us all moving. Yeah.
Sunny, I think you made a post recently that was like the future utopia image, the world if Cosmos just used one Slack still.
Yeah.
Slack is the real interoperability protocol.
I think we're at time, but I wanted to have maybe just one last question. Sunny, since you're sort of so close to the DeFi aspect of Cosmos, and since we're just seeing, I think you had a slide about, we've been working on interoperability for a long time, and the rest of the multi-chain world is sort of like starting to address that. And we're moving on to interchain composability. And I feel like that's manifested especially in DeFi protocols. So I wonder if you could speak a bit what you see the landscape of DeFi looking like when it becomes truly interoperable and interchain with IBC. Mm-hmm. What's fundamentally different from what we see today?
Yeah, so what's really cool about, so there's this new IBC protocol called interchain accounts, which basically it allows a account on one chain to make a transaction on another chain. And so that means you can have let's say you were trying to do like some sort of leverage loop, right? You could have a lending protocol on a separate chain with a DEX on one chain, and then you can have that entire loop happen sort of over IBC. You can borrow on one chain, and then it will send the assets onto the other chain, swap it, send it back, do the borrow. You have chains like Quasar who are building like these strategy vaults where, the goal of Osmosis is we want to keep the chain very lean, focused on like the trading, the necessary pieces that are needed to make like our trading engine as performant as possible. So things like strategy vaults, don't necessarily sit on the Osmosis chain, but they would sit on another chain like Quasar, but then be able to do interactions on Osmosis over using interchain accounts. And CosmWasm is actually a really big part of this because other smart contracting languages like Solidity or like Solana's, no other smart contracting language was designed for cross-chain communication in mind. Like the very way that CosmWasm contracts call other contracts, they really don't care whether they're on the same chain or on two different chains. The interactions between them, the message passing protocol that's built into the CosmWasm system makes it so it's like it was a smart contracting system built for the cross-chain world.
Yeah, they removed the reentrancy capability that you see in a Solidity, which has caused so many terrible, terrible bugs and losses.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, well, we're out of time. Thank you guys very much for answering those very brief questions. Great to be here with you, and thanks for having us.
Okay, so thank you everybody for showing up, and a huge special thank you to all of our amazing speakers. That was lovely. We are actually having an event later today. It's called Beats with Builders. It's at Smash ATX on 5th Street. Starts at 6 p.m. and goes till late. We'll have food, we'll have panels, we'll have discussions. You can meet and talk with some of these lovely, super intelligent people. And there'll be good music and dancing. Also food and drinks, if I didn't say that already. So thank you so much for coming to the stage. Hope to see you there.